Transportation and Commerce Committee meeting will now come to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Vaccaro,
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Present.
Alderman Narayan.
Here.
Alderwoman Evans,
Present.
Alderwoman Schweitzer,
Present.
Alderman Gross,
Here.
Alderman Lappy,
Here.
Chair Cohn.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll go ahead and
I'm sorry.
Was someone about to say something? Okay, we'll go ahead and dispense with the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of our meeting minutes from Tuesday, October 27th.
If you may, okay, well, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the October 27th meeting.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by the Alderman of the 23rd Ward, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 4th Ward that we approve the meeting minutes from our October 27th meeting. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Alderman Narayan,
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer,
Aye.
Alderman Gross,
Aye.
Alderman Lappy,
Aye.
Chair Cohn.
Aye.
8 aye votes.
Thank you all. I'd also like to just do a special acknowledgement here that we have a new member of the committee. Alderman Lappy has joined us as a new member of the Transportation and Commerce Committee meetings committee. So, welcome, Alderman Lappy.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. We're going to continue moving forward with the agenda. We've got a couple other items on here. The first item that's on the agenda is Board Bill number 107. It pertains to the airport. I see we have a number of folks from the airport here. Rhonda, is there anyone in particular that's going to be speaking on this?
Yes, Chairman Cohn, that'll be Rob Salarano will present, and then Antonio, myself, Rob, and we also have Fran Lyles Wiggins on with us. We'll be able to answer any questions.
Wonderful. We'll go ahead. Rob, are you on the line? Can you give the presentation for Board Bill 107, please?
I am. Alderman and Alderwoman, we're requesting your approval today of the second amended and restated concession agreement with Taste Incorporated, which does business as Vino Volo. It's a series of wine bars at the airport. But in this case, we're really happy to present a new concept to the airport, the Kingside Diner. It's a local concept. They got one in the Central West End in Clayton, and they just opened up a Kingside Express on Del Mar. And Vino Volo, the Taste Incorporated, is going to bring that Kingside Diner to the airport. This includes adding square footage. The Second Amendment adds 2,390 square feet of concession space for the Kingside Diner on Concourse C. It extends the term of the agreement to December 31st, 2028. It increases the minimum annual guarantee due to the airport. After the new minimum annual guarantee begins after the Kingside is built. It also adds ACDBE partners to the agreement. The current ACDBE utilization is 1.76% on a goal of 5%. They've engaged new ACDBE partners, including local Hudson and Associates and E&K Retail, a company that's experienced in ACDBE in the food and beverage area. We respectfully request your approval of this second amendment to the Vino Volo agreement.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Is there anyone else that is here to speak on Board Bill number 107 from the airport?
No, that should be it, Chairman. Other than I said, we're available for questions.
Wonderful. We'll go ahead then and take questions from members of the committee. Alderwoman Middlebrook,
I have no questions. Thank you.
Alderman Orion,
No questions. Thank you.
Alderwoman Evans,
No questions. Thank you.
Alderwoman Schweitzer,
No questions, thanks.
Alderman Gross,
No questions, thank you.
Alderman Lappy. I think everyone's saving their questions so that you're able to ask.
Oh, shoot. I don't have any questions either. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm
Hearing
sorry.
no-
Well, I have still. you
Can I ask a
skipped
quick
me.
question? I just changed. I'm
Well,
sorry.
Oh, did I miss you, Alderman Vaquero?
You did, and I was.
I am so sorry. Alderman Vaquero, do you have any questions?
I do, only because I remember when they went in, and one of my concerns back then was their lack of minority participation. And I saw the little bit improvement, but what is your real minority participate? What is their minority participation? Anybody?
And I'm not sure if Fran's on the line, but I can tell you right now, their minority participation. Remember that this is ACDBE and the goal was 5%. Their current ACDBE utilization is about 1.76%. And they manage that through a variety of, they hire a catering company that has provided some food for them. In Classique LLC and Glove Test Cleaning Services have provided cleaning for them. As the new company, Vino Volo was originally Taste Incorporated, and they've went through a couple of iterations. They were bought out by a company named HBF, and HBF has since been bought out by Parodies. So Parodies, the parent company, has a lot more of a deeper ACDBE bench, and they've brought on Hudson and Associates, which is a local company, as a joint venture partner with E&K Retail, which is an ACDBE company that's experienced with food and beverage. And they believe with that, they'll bring it up to the 5% goal. They'll bring their utilization up. And that, of course, has been run through our business diversity department as well.
Yeah, and Alderman Vaccaro, just to add on to that, if I may, this is Vino Volo was a very small, we had put out several years ago when we wanted a wine bar concept. We went outside of our larger contract, which is HMS Host, which has a 40% participation on the ACDBE. This particular thing was two small units, and their opportunity, and we did look at along at that time, which was with Amber, and Fran can speak to, the ability for them to bring on a partner because they're very specialized, and it was just in the Vino Volo was more challenging. As we decided and brought Kingside Diner into the fold, again, they looked to expand that. But remember, as a whole, these are just will be, if this is approved, 3 units within the broader scope of somewhat, Rob, 30 some odd units we have.
About 30 units, 32 units, something like that.
Right. So when we look at the concession ACDB as a whole on a federal level, it's looked at all of those combined, and that number is closer to 40%.
I just remember when they went in, there were other competitive companies that had a stronger minority participation. And I think I voted against it back then, if I remember. And that was my concern back then, was the lack of I think of little to none. And it sounds like they're picking it up by having the janitors and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm sure it's going to be fine without me, but I may just stick with what I did in the past on that. Only because I think it could have been a stronger minority participation. Just my thoughts. Anyway, other than that, it was just a comment, and I was just curious, but it seems like they're picking some of it up by, having like janitors and whatnot. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no other comments or questions.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Vaquero. Any other questions from members of the committee or others, other alder people that are on the
Yeah,
call?
I had a quick question.
Alderman
the-
Groff,
the- Yeah,
you're recognized.
thank you. Sorry, I was trying to find the king side diner. Would that's being operated by the same operators that are operating the other king side diners?
Yes, so Aaron Teitelbaum is the owner for the Kingside Diners, and he's really excited to come out here. He's been working for some time to look at a partnership where he could be able to bring this concept to the airport. And fortunately, we connected the two of them and they worked out an agreement. So Aaron will be very involved in making sure that it's got the quality that he expects, as he's got very high standards. So we're excited to not only bring the quality, but to bring the engagement of Aaron as well.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Hey, any other questions from members of the committee? I see we have a few other alder people who are not on the committee that are on the call. Alderwoman Boyd.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, Alderwoman Ingracia.
Sorry, no questions.
Okay, Alderwoman Rice, Alderman Gunther, either of you?
Nope.
No questions. Thanks.
Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion on Board Bill number 107.
Well, I'll make a motion if nobody's gonna do it.
Second.
We need the motion first. I'll entertain a motion that we pass Board Bill 107 out with a do pass recommendation.
That's what I said. I said I will make the motion. Nobody was doing it.
Okay, well, you didn't actually make a motion, Alderman.
Oh, okay, I'll make the motion that we pass board bill out, even though I'm with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
On Board Bill 107.
Okay, so it's been moved by the Alderman from the 23rd Ward, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 2nd Ward, that we pass Board Bill 107 out with a do pass recommendation. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Vaccaro,
I'm gonna pass for now.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Alderman Ryan,
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer,
Aye.
Alderman Gross,
Aye.
Alderman Lappy,
Aye.
Chair Cohn,
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro,
And I'll be a no. I'm sure it's just fine.
we have 7 aye votes, 1 no.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With that vote, you sustain the motion to pass Board Bill 107 out with a do pass recommendation. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 110. That is sponsored by Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. So resolution 110 is, I'm sorry, I'm pulling up my notes. It's the Lighthouse Project, and it's near 270 in Riverview, as we all know, and it is a 15, it's for the developer to provide 115-year of real property tax abatement with 90% for the first 5 years, 75% for the next 5 years, and then 50% for the last 5 years, and a sales tax exemption on construction materials for the project. We have discussed this in length for some time, I think the last couple of meetings. So that's what I have right now. And I think Dan Cook as well as Dave Sweeney are here to talk on that. So we can move forward.
Okay, I have the guest speaker list in front of me. It also has representatives from SLDC on the list here.
Okay.
Or Neil or Zach, do either of you have anything further that you'd like to add on Resolution 110?
No, financially, both projects score well. We're happy to answer any further questions you have with the financials or any other details, but We have sent out the information again if you want to go over it, but at this point, we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay. And then Rob, or I see your hand is up. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, I'm not sure if I heard or not, but the board committee substitute actually is an up to those abatement percentages. It is not a prescribed abatement. And I think the amended resolution should reflect that.
We have not yet adopted the committee substitute. We still have the original resolution before us. But thank you.
Okay.
Dave Sweeney, Dan Cook, the sponsor mentioned. Either of you have anything further that you'd like to add?
We're just here to answer any more questions, as well as the rest of the folks here on our behalf, I think, for additional questions. Mr. Chair.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We do have Edgewater and M2 here if there are questions.
Wonderful. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take any final questions from members of the committee and other alder people who are in attendance. We'll go ahead with Vice Chair Vaccaro.
I have no questions.
Okay, Alderwoman Middlebrook, no, sorry, Alderman Narayan.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Cohn. Just a quick question, because I'm looking back at this when the SLDC staff approved this, and the resolution approved by the Port Authority. Does M2 actually have site control of this project at the moment?
Yeah, I think that would be a question for you.
There's a letter of intent out there, but I don't think that anything further than that has been signed at this point in time.
Okay, thank you. That's the only question I had. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, actually, kind of a point of order that I'm calling on myself here. Have the speakers that are non-city employees been sworn in?
No.
Can you please go ahead and swear in any of the guest speakers who are not city employees?
Yes.
So I believe that's Dave, Dan, Tim, and the representatives from Edgewater.
Yes.
Names are not in front of me at the moment.
They all have their hands. Do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Great, thank you all. Alderman Narayan, I'm sorry, did you say that you were finished with your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Alderwoman Evans? No questions. You're muted, but I saw you, your lips. I read your lips. Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. My questions, we've had a lot of different questions about environmental issues at the site. It seems like they can't be answered. So I don't want to kind of, belabor the point on this. I plan on voting no on this resolution at this time. And, one of the things about a no vote is that down the road, you hope that it was a huge mistake and the right thing to do would have been to vote yes, and that everything is perfect with the project and it's all wonderful, but I don't have that confidence right now. So I appreciate everyone's time. Please always feel free to reach out to me if you're working on this project. The questions that came in from Colin Wellenkamp of Missouri River Cities and Towns Initiative that he asked during the last meeting, I think were really good. Had a lot of other questions from other cities downstream from us. who were concerned about this, and yeah, I just don't feel great about it. So I can definitely make sure, if you don't already, the people who are at the project have these questions. These are questions that I think myself and hopefully many others are going to keep asking as time goes on. And I won't, again, belabor the point any further. I appreciate everyone's time on this. Thanks so much.
Alderman Gross.
I don't have any questions today. I think that we've heard a lot about this project. I will say that I was pretty skeptical of it at the beginning, and I shared a lot of concerns. But I think that after hearing a little bit more, and honestly, I've talked to people that I was really expecting to tell me that it was going to be it's a really bad idea, and was surprised to hear that they didn't. Voters, those kinds of folks. There does seem to be some interest in people moving their boats from the lake in this fall and that sort of thing. I think I was really thinking at start that, well, it doesn't really make sense if people are going to be going south, but talking to our folks, this does seem like it could have a lot of use for people who are trying to go north on the river, hang out in the Missouri River community, hang up upper Mississippi, like Alton, Grafton area. And I think that because it's a good project, and just going on what's in front of us here today, I mean, what's in front of us here today is approving incentives for the economics of this. And we spend so much time on this Board of Aldermen talking about getting investment into North St. Louis, that I don't think there's enough here for me to say at this point that I don't want to bring investment to North St. Louis, because I think that a lot of the opposition is pretty premature and skeptical as well. So I'm going to be really interested, to see this project progress, through the permitting process, see what else kind of comes from all that. I personally think a lot of the kind of concerns and things that we're worried about on the board, probably could and should be addressed in the future, maybe through, a comprehensive like marina bill. I mean, I would think that other towns that have things like marinas probably have, legislation that kind of deals with, the operation of it, making sure that there's slips for emergency vehicles, making sure that there's, adequate markings and that sort of thing. So if we're as a city are concerned about these things, then I don't think that, this is it, that we can't govern and regulate these things in the future. But at this stage in the project, when there aren't clear answers to a lot of things on both sides, I think that it's we have to go by what's in front of us. So that's why I think I'm going to be a yes today. Nothing further from me.
Okay, thank you, Alderman. Alderman Lappy.
I've got no questions at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Alderwoman Middlebrook, I believe you have a committee substitute that you would like for us to adopt.
Yes, I do. It is in the Google Drive. And do you want me to read what is changing?
Yeah, if you could just highlight what the changes are between the original resolution and the committee substitute.
Okay, so the changes are, if you go down to the very last paragraph, the third line where it says developer, it will say developer to provide up to, then the next line 90%, and then 75%. And those are the changes.
Okay, so I believe we need to have a motion to put the committee substitute before the committee so that we can discuss the committee substitute. Is there a motion to put the
moved
committee substitute for resolution 110 before the committee?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by the alderman from the 11th ward, seconded by the alderman from the
Previous roll.
3rd ward.
No, objection to previous roll.
There's an objection to previous roll. Thank you, Alderman from the 23rd. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Alderman Orion,
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer,
Aye.
Alderman Gross,
Aye.
Alderman Lappy,
Aye.
Chair Cohn.
Aye.
8 aye votes.
Okay, so we currently have the committee substitute for resolution 110 before the committee. Alderwoman Middlebrook, is there anything further that you would like to add with respect to the changes?
No, those are the changes that are there. I also have, I don't know if it's the amendment will go at this point or.
If you have the amendment ready, we can, we'd need a motion to, well, so let's discuss the amendment first, and then we can decide whether or not we want to take a vote and adopt the amendment to resolution.
Okay. So the amendment states, whereas the St. Louis Fire Department will have a dedicated, designated, and agreed upon slip for St. Louis Fire Department watercraft within the project.
Okay, so to be clear, it's adding a whereas clause to the resolution, providing for St. Louis City Fire Department to have access for safety purposes.
Correct.
Okay. Are there questions on the amendment before we take a vote? Vice Chair Vaquero.
No question.
Alderman Narayan.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderwoman Evans.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
No questions.
Alderman Gross.
Yeah, I'm curious how this amendment came to be. Did the fire department ask for it, or how is it discussed that this was needed?
So I can provide a little bit of clarity on that. I reached out to the chief of the St. Louis City Fire Department and asked him whether or not he was supportive of the project. He indicated during that conversation that he did provide a letter to the developers that he would be supportive of the project, predicated on the premise that they would have access, because at the time that we are discussing this, the St. Louis City Fire Department used to have 2 inlets, one south of the Chain of Rocks Bridge, one north of the Chain of Rocks, or not bridge, but north of the Chain of Rocks. And I believe it was, according to the chief, adjacent or, close to this property or possibly on the property. That inlet on the north side of the Chain of Rocks is no longer available. And so he said that his support was basically based on the premise that they would have access from the conversations he had with the developers. So this memorializes that commitment.
Got it. Nothing further.
Alderman Lappy.
No questions.
Okay. Any questions from other alder people on the line? Alderwoman Boyd.
No questions. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
No questions.
Alderman Gunther.
Nope.
Alderwoman Rice.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. My only question, I think this is a great amendment, memorializing that agreement. I think that makes a whole lot of sense to add in here. My question, I guess, is just, were there any other, this seems like the right time to be making other types of agreements laid out for the community, for the environmental aspect, for the safety, that type of thing. Those questions that were asked by the Missouri River Cities or Mississippi River Cities organization. Were there consideration of any other agreements like this that would go into place with this resolution?
No one has brought any to me.
Okay. All right. I'm just curious. Thank you.
I think the Alderwoman and myself would be open to any of those amendments if there are any.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and take a vote on the adoption of the amendment to Resolution 110 Committee Substitute. Madam Clerk, will you please, well, is there a motion to adopt the
I'll
amendment?
make a motion, we adopt the amendment,
Second.
previous role.
Moved by the Alderman of the 23rd Ward, seconded by the Alderman of the 11th Ward. There's been a motion for previous role. Is there any objection to previous role? Alderwoman Schweitzer, your hand is up. Are you objecting to previous role?
Nope, I'm not objecting.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
Not about this one.
Okay. Madam Clerk, there's been a call for previous role. There's no objection to previous role. The amendment passes. So now we're on Resolution 110, Committee Substitute as amended. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. When you said that, Chairman Cohn, that you and the sponsor would be open to other amendments, you know, there obviously are several questions in this Missouri River Cities and Towns initiative regarding, you know, flood water, if there is flooding that occurs in this area, making sure flood waters can be absorbed on site as opposed to pushed off on neighboring communities downstream and in other areas. You know, the next one was natural infrastructure deployments used to absorb disaster potential as such as wetland or marsh. I mean, are you suggesting that we make amendments to put in, I mean, how would that, I'm trying to understand how that would work if we were going to put in amendments that dealt with these questions. Can you give me some ideas on that? Or I guess I'm
So
trying to understand what you're saying.
any member of the committee is welcome to add amendments to the resolution, the Resolution 110 Committee Substitute. If you have a recommended amendment or need some time to draft an amendment that, you know, takes any considerations that you would like to have added, you know, I can certainly allow that time, and we have another board bill that, or another resolution that's on the agenda.
Right. That's interesting. Let me think about that for a minute. And there's a lot here, so I don't know that what sort of amendment would make the resolution feel like, okay, everything is, you know, any consideration or concern, environmental aspects of this are going to be handled in this resolution. Seems like a tall order for this exact committee meeting. So let me yield back and keep thinking.
Sure. You know, some other considerations that, you know, should be made with that respect as well. You know, the Army Corps of Engineers is going to have to sign off on plans, and there's going to have to be an environmental assessment that's done, which will include some of the items that you mentioned, Alderwoman, and some of the items that have been discussed in the last, you know, couple hearings here that we've had relative to the resolution, including, you know, the potential threat to wetlands, threatened and endangered species, you know, stormwater impacts, river flow, boat density, displacement. All of those will have to be part of an environmental assessment that's provided to the Army Corps of Engineers for their review. But, you know, certainly if there's something that we want to have added to the resolution that's specific from the city's perspective, like I said, I'm certainly open to those amendments as well. Alderwoman Boyd, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I guess my question, I keep asking these questions because I think what people are asking for, we haven't even got to that point. This is the preliminary, am I correct? There's nothing going to happen. This is just a preliminary. Alderwoman Middlebrook is just presenting the preliminary for them to get going. And if they don't jump the hoops that they're supposed to jump, they won't get anything, am I correct?
It's somewhat correct. This is really the only opportunity that the Board of Aldermen will have as it pertains to these incentives that we're essentially blessing on behalf of the Port Authority and sending the message over to the Port Authority that they can move forward with this. But to my knowledge, this would be the only time specific to the incentives for the project that the Board of Aldermen would have the opportunity to review and vote on as it pertains to these specific incentives as well. There were also separate board bills that were introduced and subsequently heard in HUDs. But as it pertains to the Port Authority and the incentives that are going to be provided to the project from the Port Authority, this is really the only opportunity that we have. It is preliminary, but it's also the only time they wouldn't be coming back to the Board of Aldermen for another vote.
So I'm asking that to ask. So I'm hearing people asking questions in regards to all of these inspections or whatever. So they don't trust the government to make sure that M2 follows the guidelines and has the inspections and are done as they're supposed to be, or I'm just confused.
So there are certain requirements that the federal government will have for sure, which is, obviously a lengthy laundry list of items that would need to be done. But from a local perspective, this would be an opportunity similar to what we've done with other incentive, board bills or resolutions with respect to community benefit agreements or arrangements that are made, so that we are taking into consideration other items that might be associated with the incentives that we're providing.
Okay, thank you.
Alderwoman Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to clarify there too. This project is really complex, and to me, it comes to us differently than other development projects have come to us, where there've been more solid plans that were discussed more. When I remember when we had the MLS stadium came to us, they said, here's the types of green infrastructure we're looking at for parking, or here's how they had more detailed descriptions of buildings, more detailed descriptions of uses of things like that around them. And I think one of the big hesitations here is this Mississippi River Cities organization that really said from all of these other cities up and down the Mississippi that they would encourage us to stay involved, to sort of lay out our community desires and our guidelines around this type of a project, this type of transformational project on our waterway, sort of at the front end of it. And it's my understanding, I think you said it well, that this is sort of like a community benefits agreement, in that once this resolution and these two board bills accompanying are out of our hands or are passed through the Board of Aldermen, there is not another space for us as the Board of Aldermen to come back and weigh in. That it will go, the Port Authority will weigh in, but the Port Authority is an unelected body. Those are appointed members, which Mr. Chairman sits on as an elected official, but that this is really our last check as elected officials to be a part of that process. So I don't have language drawn up, and I apologize to Alderwoman Middlebrook for not thinking through this a bit more clearly before this hearing. But I'm wondering if there would be room to consider an amendment on the floor with that type. I just trying to think of how to get the language correct that would ask to come back to the Board of Aldermen for input once they have all of these in place, whether it's just, I would love it if it was more than just a report on the environmental impact or what the safety is going to be, what the precautions are going to be, what how the water runoff is going to be, how testing and safety and how we're going to work with the roadway on Riverview to make sure that it's safe, like all of those bits. How is it that we can stay connected with the project because it is such a large transformational piece, and so that's what I'm struggling with, is how to potentially word something like that. But that's the impetus for all of the questions at the moment. If this were happening downtown, I would have these exact same questions about what is the Board of Aldermen's next, what is the elected body of officials next steps for input, and if this is it, then this is the time to be asking these specific questions. So I'll leave it to the committee for more input on that, and I'll see if I can come up with some wording. But thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Alderman Gross.
Yeah, I definitely understand Alderwoman Rice's concerns, and I guess that's why I would suggest that maybe we should, as a city, look at, passing a marina bill, some sort of bill that governs the use of marinas, that says, marinas need XYZ to operate. And I think we can do that at any time. I don't think that we need to do that now. I think that they could, they can get started improving their incentives and everything, and we can take a look at it. We can see what other cities have done. I would imagine that other cities that have marinas maybe have something similar, and look at putting that later on when the city's when this project, assuming that it could get past all these permits. I mean, we're kind of in the same position. We don't want to do, as a Board of Aldermen, a whole lot of work, putting all these regulations in place and thinking of regulations for marinas if it's not going to happen. So, I think maybe a time to look at those things maybe would be, after they do their environmental studies and whatnot, and, before they open, as a city, just kind of look at what kind of rules and ordinances we want in place at that point to govern the use of craft on our waterway. That'd be my suggestion. Looks like think of a way to alleviate some of these concerns. The only kind of hard amendment I could think of right now would just be, I know at the last hearing, there was some, I think there was some discussion about a good neighbor agreement with the zoo, and I think both sides said that they would be willing to explore something like that. I think that if they would continue, I would trust the zoo to, not let it turn into a complete disaster. I don't know if you could put the good neighbor agreement in this thing, but just something that they could continue to evaluate. But yeah, I mean, again, I think a comprehensive marina legislation bill might be what we're looking for here. That's it.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderwoman Middlebrook, have there been any additional conversations with the zoo about a good neighbor agreement, or perhaps that's a question for any of the representatives from the developer?
That would be a question for one of the representatives, because I haven't had any.
Correct. Thank you. Mr. Sweeney.
Yes, yes, there have been communications and there will continue to be, Mr. Chairman. I have spoken to their lobbyist. I have spoken to the president of the zoo, and they are supposed to be reaching out to have conversations. The door is wide open in that, and will continue to be, obviously.
Okay. Alderman Gross, certainly open to that. If you want to, as I mentioned to Alderwoman Schweitzer, take some moments to draft an amendment, I can hold off and we can take up resolution number 122 while people are giving consideration to amendments.
I probably won't. I mean, I'll take those assurances that they're still working on it. Unless someone else wants to add some more amendments, we can add that one too, but I don't know if we need to make a separate amendment just for that.
Okay. Alderwoman Middlebrook, I suppose the question here, kind of given the comments from, I believe it was the Alderwoman from the 8th and the Alderwoman from the 13th, would you be open to amendments on the floor while people have those conversations?
Actually, I'm open. However, no one has tried to contact me about any amendments. We've been on this for 3 weeks now. So at this point, I just want to take a vote.
Understood. Okay. Other questions from anyone else on the Board of Aldermen?
Mr. Chair, could I say something?
Alderwoman from the 27th, you're recognized.
But Alderwoman Middlebrook, I don't think she's giving herself the credit she deserves. She has been in conversation with MoDOT and Gateway Green and the zoo in regards to this project to make sure that it's a good coordination. So she hasn't just talked to M2, she has been in communication with different people, because her and I have been aware that we were trying to get development coming that way. So it's been conversation. And so I think Lisa understands, Alderwoman Middlebrook understands that it's a lot of work ahead. She's just trying to get past this so they can at least start the process. And I'm sorry, Alderwoman Middlebrook, but I was just.
Thank you, Alderwoman. I think she was actually trying to say that she hasn't had any of our colleagues reach out to her with respect to amendments, not that she hasn't had conversations about the resolution itself.
I know, you know how I am. My heart's there. That's all. My heart's here.
Thank you, Alderwoman Boyd.
Alderwoman Schweitzer, did you have an amendment that you wanted to introduce?
I don't right now. I would need more time. And I understand that you have another resolution, but I don't want to like rush it. And I wasn't aware that Alderman Middlebrook was open to amendments on this. That is my fault for not asking for it. I have to do better about reaching out, and I will reach out to Alderman Middlebrook after this meeting.
Okay. Seeing no other hands raised, we'll take a vote on resolution number 110, committee substitute as amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
You need a motion?
Oh, we do. Thank you, Alderman.
Well, then
I'll
I
make a
will.
motion on the resolution.
I'll make a motion that we pass Board Bill 110 as amended out with the due pass recommendation.
Committee substitute.
Committee substitute, I'm sorry. I thought it was amended, I'm sorry. Committee substitute as amended.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by the Alderman from the 23rd Ward, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 4th Ward, that we pass resolution 110 committee substitute as amended out with the due pass recommendation. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Alderman Narayan,
No.
Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer,
No.
Alderman Gross,
Aye.
Alderman Lappy,
Aye.
Chair Cohn.
Present.
Five aye votes, one present, one no, two no's, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With that vote, you sustain the motion to pass resolution 110 committee substitute as amended out to the full Board of Aldermen. Thank you, everyone, for your time and energy on this the last several weeks as we worked through this. And we will take up the next item on the agenda, which is resolution 122.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board committee. I'm sorry. So resolution number 122 recommends that the Port Authority participate in an industrial development bond transaction to facilitate a 10-year, 50% personal property abatement and sales tax exemption on construction materials in connection with approximately $180 million investment at Procter & Gamble's North St. Louis campus. And this is expected to create 100 jobs with an average annual wage of $65,000. And I believe that Zach Wilson is here from SLDC to talk about this.
Great, thank you, Alderwoman. Zach, please take it away.
Thank you, Alderwoman. I'll do a little brief rundown over the project and let Jake go over the numbers if that's okay, Chairman. Is that all right?
Yes, please.
The total project cost is $180 million. Well, this will allow us to retain 530 jobs here at the city of St. Louis for the Procter & Gamble site and create 100 new jobs with an average salary of $65,000. Project scores well at 4.5 out of 5. What we're really excited about on this project is the partnership we're establishing with Slate and the St. Louis Public Schools on future jobs, placement here, possible job training, and other types of outreach with the Procter & Gamble group and this, with existing 100 jobs and future jobs. That was a major key for us to win this project for this area, this expansion. So I'll let Jake go through the project.
Good afternoon, committee members. This one's been in our pipeline for a while. I was looking at our files this morning, and I think John Ferry actually modeled this originally back in June of 21. So it's been a long time coming. This final version of the proposal is a $180 million development. That breaks down to about $120 million in investment in new construction improvements to the existing real estate up there. About 450,000 square feet of reno and 220,000 square feet of new construction to get to that 670 number that you see at the top. The remaining balance of 60 million is an investment in personal property and manufacturing equipment. That's 3 investments, one at 18 million, one at 34 million, and one at 8 million. Those would be made over the first 3 years. Zach mentioned this is projected to create 100 jobs with an average salary of about 65,000. This would be in addition to the retention of about 530 existing jobs at the facility. Those existing jobs have a total payroll of just under 32 million. So it works out to about 60,000 per position there. There's no abatement on the real estate here. We're only abating personal property. The model's projecting annual new real property tax revenues of about $400,000. And an average personal property tax revenue of about $235,000 a year over that 10-year abatement. The number does bounce around quite a lot during that 10 years because the investments are made over 3 years, properties being depreciated over time as well. So this scores a 4.5 out of 5 in our model. We're projecting fiscal benefit of a little over, I should change the slide. Fiscal benefit of a little over 2 million for the city over 10 years. 4.3 million over 20 years, and benefit of just under 3 million for the schools over the first 10, and about 5.3 over the second 20. We have an estimated value of the personal property tax abatement of 1.9 million, and estimated value of sales tax exemption on construction materials of 3.9 million. It's based on about 95 million in hard costs. Actually, I think it's closer to 100 million in hard costs. At this point, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And I think Rob Orr is on the call as well. So if he has anything to add, I welcome that.
Before we go any further, we also like to point out with this type of incentive, like all our incentives, we also, minority compliance numbers have to be hit on all these incentive projects. So on a project like this, minority firms would see possibly $22.7 million. And women-owned firms would possibly see $10.4 million.
Okay, anyone else from SLDC? So I have Neil, Andrew Knott, Rob Orr, James Merrow, David Meyer are all listed as city staff to testify. Rob?
Yeah, I'll just add that Chris Moscow is on from Procter & Gamble if you have any questions, as well as a plant manager, Daniel, and I'll probably mess up his last name. But if you have any questions, those 2 individuals would be happy to answer them.
Daniel and Chris, since you're not city employees, can you please work with the clerk here to be sworn in?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Can you please raise your right hand? Do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. We'll go ahead and Rob, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just add that Procter & Gamble is one of our great longtime employees in the North Riverfront. This is an exciting expansion opportunity creation of good paying jobs in the manufacturing industry. And we would very much appreciate your consideration of this resolution. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rob. We'll go ahead and take questions from members of the committee. Vice Chair Vaquero.
Yes. So you had said it's going to meet the standards of minority participation. So what is it? 25% black male, 5% female, 2% Hispanic. Can you break that? I think that's what that is.
It's not exact. Those are the old numbers. The new numbers are like 23 or something like that for African Americans, and it goes down. Each bucket's a little bit different. But if court with any incentive, if those numbers are not hit, the incentive is not activated. So those are things our minority compliance takes very seriously here at SLDC. So.
Well, I mean, so I guess I remember the old. Do you know them offhand, or they're probably reasonably close to that? Do you know what the minority participation?
I can email you the new numbers, Alderman. It's broken down to Asian American, Hispanic. So there's several buckets, so I don't want to miss one.
Okay, because I really thought it was 22, 5, and 2.
I think you're in the ballpark, but I'm not going to go on ledge and tell you exactly a wrong number there. So
Okay. I just didn't know, and I thought that's what that was, and I'm glad to see these will be good, good jobs, construction jobs, and good way to get minority participation on the jobs. So that's good, and that's boots on the ground. That's the best part.
And I can add a little to that. In aggregate, the total number for minority is 24%. That's combining all of the kind of subgroups. And then women-owned businesses is 11%.
Okay, that was it. That was my only real question. I'm just curious about those numbers. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alderman. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Alderman Narayan.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderwoman Evans.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
No questions.
Alderman Gross.
No questions.
Alderman Lappy.
No questions.
Holy moly. Okay. If there are no further questions on resolution number 122, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
There was no motion, Alderman.
I thought you said you did. Okay, I'm sorry then. I will make a motion that we pass Board Bill 122 out with the due pass recommendation.
Second. Oh,
Okay, it's been moved by the Alderman of the 23rd Ward that we pass resolution 122 out with a due pass recommendation. It's been seconded by the Alderwoman of the 4th Ward. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderman Gross.
Aye.
Alderman Lappy.
aye.
Chair Cohn.
Aye.
8 aye votes.
Okay, with that motion, or with that vote, you sustained the motion to pass resolution 122 out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Thank you to everyone that was here this evening or this afternoon with respect to the resolutions and board bill. Appreciate your time and attention to these matters. And to Alderman Lappy, welcome to Transportation and Commerce. It's always a fun adventure and lots of interesting projects to be discussed. So I know you'll enjoy your time here immensely. I don't believe we have any additional items on the agenda today. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Awesome. Thank you all for your time. Take care.